So our notion is to develop businesses with water as the tool, and they're not our businesses, they are local businesses which will make this device with local craftspeople and local materials so that your value added is down at that level. So remember, my term in Middle East Africa was business development, and it turns out the principles that you need to do that in Dow and the way you need to do it here aren't all that different. The vehicle that I've chosen to do all of this is a nonprofit called Agua Clara Foundation. And the manner in which we go with this, if you'll take a look at the left-hand side, is Agua Clara as a foundation then brings business experience and technology and strategic alliances into the equation. One of the things that you learn when you are doing these kinds of businesses is the first thing you do is start developing networks. Because if you can't develop a network, you probably ought to get back on the plane and go home, because it isn't going to work. It's going to work with great difficulty. We interface with a locally owned business into which we bring water-based products, health hygiene, and some business tools and support, and we'll come to that in this next slide after this one. We went through all of the things that you do from an engineering standpoint. That is, we did our homework, we came to Purdue, went and found our way to Chip and Ron Turco, because I'm not a biochemist, and we're going to be in the middle of biochemistry. And I was reading on the subject, but I came to Purdue, talked to my good friend, and I said I need two biochemists, one who is an applications guy and one who's a research guy. And I'd like them to help me on a prototype and set up the protocol, and I'm not going to pay them anything. Still haven't. We went from then a beta site in Kenya, in Eldoret, where Purdue is thinking of moving towards, and then it turns out that we have a relationship with a large corporation. It didn't start that way. It started with just me, and then finally added some other folks. And these folks, as part of their outreach into the world, upon their own examining, had decided that they wanted to address the question of clean water in developing countries, but had no vehicle for it. And as it turns out, we found each other, and we've been the benefit of that relationship. So our sustainability is based on their sustainability. So we're teaching sustainability, but we aren't. That's a problem. Come to that. And they came finally and said, well, we watched you do all your thing. That's really interesting. Why don't you do 1,000 of these? Why don't you go to, you tell us what countries, you tell us what sites, and I'm going to walk you through that, because we indeed did that last year. And the way in which we go at it is as follows. First thing you do is you start with the local folks. Same thing that I did in Dow. Start with the local folks, and you're going to do business development, and you're going to do it in really difficult conditions. And so you want to make the thing as easy as you can, get rid of some of the roadblocks that are there. So what we do is we start with a given trust relationship in position. Because if Bob McDonald shows up, drops out of a parachute in the jungle and says, hi, I'm your new guy, they just look at you like an NGO, and it kind of, some conversation takes place and you slide out stage left. So we turn to, in one case with Dr. Robin Clay, who's the economics department, Hope College, who's been working in Oaxaca, Mexico for 5 years, takes students down every year, has a marvelous relationship with the people. And so we slide in on that relationship. We work in Chiapas, and that's with Western Theological Seminary. They've been working there for 75 years, and we come in on that relationship with those people. So it is that trust relationship, often with the churches, because the churches are there. They're out there with mission groups. and that kind of fits where we come from anyway. You talk to the local folks about their perceived needs, and then finally maybe somebody gets the notion that he or she is feeling pretty frisky, and they'd like to be in the business of manufacturing this device for profit in their community. So at Eldoret, Kenya, we have 2 ladies who are doing that today. We trained them, we taught them, we gave them the support they needed, and they're in the business. But the first thing we do, though, is ask them to form a legal business, legal to the country that they're in. I spent enough years in Middle East Africa knowing that I don't want to deal with illegal businesses. And that's part of the tough part, too. Local materials and local craftspeople. There's smart people everywhere, of course. And they're capable people, and they can be taught, and they can take that training, and they can go to execute this. And I'll show you some of that in just a little bit. So we provide the teaching and training. We provide some monitoring, and then back off a little bit, but don't disappear. So operationally, that's what we're doing. 2009, this is our program. So in Kenya, Uganda, we will have 4 major sites that we will work from: Mexico, Nicaragua. In Nicaragua at the moment, after a year's worth of preparatory work in which we probably did only about 100 reactors, we're now doing them at 100 to 200 at a time in villages based upon the homework that we've done.